Hey guys, it's Chris, and I am here with another video. I just visited uh, DBVI, VRC DBVI, the Vocational Rehab Training Center here in Virginia yesterday for their Friends and Family Day, and I learned a couple of new things about iOS and brushed up on some old things and decided, like the Mac video I recorded a couple of days ago, I want to go ahead and revisit iOS and give a more comprehensive and organized review of this. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started by explaining what VoiceOver is. Now, VoiceOver is a free screen reader that is built into every Apple device. VoiceOver is a free screen reader built into every Apple device that runs what's called iOS. Now, iOS is the touch-based operating system that is designed for Apple's mobile devices. So that will run on your iPod Touch, your iPad, and your iPhone, whichever one you may have, as long as you do have the 3GS or later. So, VoiceOver is entirely touch driven. And for example, if I were to touch this application here,
Mail, 14 unread emails.
that's the mail application, and I apparently need to check my emails, but it told me what it was, and it told me the status of that particular application that I have unread emails. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. So the first two gestures I'm going to show you, you will be able to take and use an iOS device effectively. I mean, it won't be as efficient as it would be when you learn the other gestures, but it's completely possible. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the one finger single tap. And what that does is it puts VoiceOver's focus on whatever you touch. So for example, if I touch my music app right here in my dock,
Doc, music.
now VoiceOver's focus is on music. You can use that with anything. I'm just going to start touching applications on my screen with one finger.
Keynote. Pages. Find my friends. CCleaner, memory status, storage cleaner, process manager and performance monitor. Safari. Tips.
So you get the point. That is how you essentially learn your way around the screen. I suggest going around your device and learning where your applications are, because being able to directly touch them and know where they are helps you navigate faster. Now, the second thing I'm going to show you is the one finger double tap. Now, I'm going to go ahead and use the previous gesture I showed you, the one finger tap on music.
Doc, music.
And to open music, you do a one finger double tap. So you tap the screen twice quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on the table just to give you a little, just like that. You don't have to tap the screen hard at all. A single little light touch.
Music.
You didn't even hear my finger hit the screen, of course. But that's the good thing about touch screens. A lot of them aren't pressure sensitive. So you don't have to, on your touch screen, you can, on your touch screen, and it'll still recognize your finger. So I'm going to go ahead and do a one finger double tap. Now, let me mention something before I do this. Once VoiceOver's focus
Music.
is on music, you can do a one finger double tap on anywhere in the screen. If you do a one finger single tap,
Dropbox.
now the focus of VoiceOver is shifted away from the app you want to open. I don't want to open Dropbox. I want to open music. So I'm going to find music.
Doc, music.
And now I can do a one finger double tap anywhere on the screen and it will open music. So I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Music. iTunes Radio. History. Button.
And here we are in music. So that is how you open an application. And that's an example of the one finger double tap as well as the one finger single tap. Now we're going to move on to swiping and navigation. So just to review, we've already covered the one finger single tap, the one finger double tap. Those are two of the most used gestures that you will ever learn using iOS. The next is the one finger swipe. Now, I'll only be showing you swipe to the left and the swipe to the right for now, but I'll show you what up and down can be used for later. So, the one finger swipe left or right can be used to navigate apps on your screen. If you're on a list or you're on your home screen and you just want to move through the apps in the order in which they're displayed. For example, if I start on this folder right here,
Native Applications folder, 8 apps, 21 new items.
that is the first app in the order of apps on my screen. Now, of course, the apps are laid out in a grid, but what it's going to do is when I go through them, it's going to go all the way down the first row, then it's going to wrap to the beginning and go down to the next and the next. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do a one finger swipe to the right, doesn't matter where on the screen.
FaceTime, 8-minute FaceTime calls.
Again,
Newsstand. Settings. Photo and video folder, 8 apps. Games folder, 2 apps. 1 productivity folder, 3 apps. Travel folder, 2 apps.
and I'm just moving through the applications on my screen. Now, if I do it in the opposite direction, if I do a one finger swipe to the left, I'll go in the opposite direction.
Productivity folder, 3 apps. Games folder, 2 apps. 1 new item. Photo and video folder, 8 apps. Settings. Newsstand. FaceTime, 8-minute Native Applications folder, 8 apps. 21 new items.
And here I am, back at my first folder. Now, how do I know if I can't move anymore? Well, I'm going to try and swipe to the left again, and you hear that sound. That means you cannot go anymore. So, I'm not even swiping near that application. My finger is it's in the opposite corner towards the bottom, and that app or folder is towards the top left. And so I can double tap all the way down here,
Native Applications, heading, text field.
and that folder opens. Now, how do you get out of the folder? Well,
Vermont App Store. iTunes Store. Native Application. Native Applications folder. 8
now,
apps,
let me
21
show you what I
items.
did. I'm going to go back into that
Native
folder.
Applications, iTunes Store.
Now, here I am in the first app in this folder. And the reason I know that is, if I swipe to the left,
Native Applications, heading, text field.
it will give me the name of the folder. And I can't swipe anymore. Now, if I double tap on that,
Native Applications folder, 8 apps, 21 new items.
it takes me out of the folder. So you see how powerful these gestures really are. With everything that I've taught you, you can use an iOS device. The one finger single tap, the one finger double tap, and the one finger swipe to the right or left. So take a minute to explore your iOS device using only those three gestures. Alright, you guys, so I'm going to move on from one finger gestures to two finger gestures for now. Now, the two finger gesture can be used for a couple of things. Now, I'm going to start with two finger taps. Now, if VoiceOver is speaking a pretty long title, for example, the title of my CCleaner app,
CCleaner, memory status, storage cleaner, process manager, and performance monitor.
if I just want to hear the name of the app and I want VoiceOver to stop speaking, I can do a two finger single tap on the screen. And that's kind of the equivalent to your control key in stopping your screen reader from speaking. So,
CCleaner,
see, it stopped in mid-speech.
CCleaner,
So I'm doing a one finger single tap,
CCleaner,
two finger double tap. Also, you have the two finger double tap, and that does many things. So, for example, if someone were to be calling me right now, I could do a two finger double tap to answer the call, and a two finger double tap to end the call. I can also do that if no one's calling me to start and stop the playback of music. So I have a song queued up in the background, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. So here's this two finger double tap to start playback of music. And I can do a 2-finger double tap to stop playback. Double tap to start. Double tap to stop. Alright, so there's the 2-finger double tap. And that works with music, videos, podcasts, pretty much anything involving media that you have up. So, the last 2-finger gesture I'm going to show you is the 2-finger swipe down. And that is a read all command. It's kind of the equivalent to the insert down arrow with JAWS and Windows. So I'm going to start on my first app on the screen.
Native applications folder, 8 apps, 21 new items.
And I'm going to do a 2-finger swipe down.
Native applications folder, 8 apps, 21 new items. FaceTime, 8-minute FaceTime calls. Newsstand, settings, photo and video folder, 8 apps. Games folder, 2 apps, 1 new item. Productivity folder, 3 apps. Travel folder, 2 apps. Music folder, 2 apps.
I'm not touching the screen right now. It's just advancing on its own.
Twitter, 1 new item. Find my friends. CCleaner, memory status, storage cleaner.
There's that super long app.
Performance monitor, tips, pages, keynote, Dropbox, Messenger, 1 new item. Page 1 of 2. Adjustable, music, camera.
And now it's in my dock.
Messages, 5 unread messages, mail, 14 unread emails.
And you hear that because VoiceOver's focus is now on the very last app on the page.
Dock, mail, 14 unread email.
And I'm swiping to the right to try and advance, and I can't. So it just read every single application on my screen with one gesture without me having to do things. Now, that works for things like long articles, for web pages that have a lot of elements and you don't feel like doing gesture after gesture after gesture, trying to get to something and it's not laid out very well. But I'll teach you structured internet navigation later in this video. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to 3-finger gestures. Alright, let's get started with the 3-finger gestures. And the first one I'm going to show you is the 3-finger single tap. So I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Row 1, column 1, page 1 of 2, top left corner, thumbnail width, double tap to open.
So that is just for gathering information. And of course, I am still focused on that first item and it just told you where it was. It told you it was in the top left corner, row 1, column 1, and it told you how to manipulate it. So what if I swipe to another app?
FaceTime, 8-minute FaceTime calls.
And did it again.
Row 1, column 2, page 1 of 2, top and centered, thumbnail width, double tap to open.
And if I touch a random app on the screen?
Dropbox. Row 4, column 3, page 1 of 2, bottom and centered, thumbnail width, double tap to open.
And one more.
Dock, mail, 14 unread emails. In dock, position 5, bottom right corner, thumbnail width, double tap to open.
So, it's just for gathering information. That is the 3-finger single tap, and you can use that anywhere. So try and explore your device and use that gesture. Now I'm going to do the 3-finger double tap. And what that's going to do is it's going to mute your speech. For example, if I'm listening to music,
speech off.
And now my speech is off. So you hear my gestures. But no speech. Now, to do it again, you do a 3-finger double tap.
Speech on.
And the speech comes back on. So that is the 3-finger double tap. Now we're going to move on to the 3-finger triple tap, which I think is one of the most popular gestures that is used. And that is to activate screen curtain. And what that's going to do is that's going to it's not necessarily going to turn the screen off, but it's just going to black out everything on the screen. So 1, 2, 3.
In dock, position 3.
I have to do it 3 times. 1, 2, 3.
Screen curtain on.
And my screen is gone. To turn it back on, 1, 2, 3.
Screen curtain off. Screen curtain on.
And as you can hear,
Messages. 5 MUD Rammer. Camera. Find my friends.
everything still works.
Screen curtain off.
Now, before I move on, let me go ahead and squash a myth about screen curtain. Screen curtain actually does not save you battery. The thing about screen curtain is your backlight is still functioning. It's still, like right now, my iPad is at max brightness. if I turn screen curtain on,
Screen curtain on.
it's hard for my camera to pick up on, but my backlight is actually still there. The only thing it did was shade everything into black.
Screen curtain off.
So if you want to actually save battery power, and you're not actually physically looking at your screen, you want to go ahead and turn your brightness down. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to some 3-finger swipes. Now, I am here on my home screen. This is where I'm going to be doing most of my demonstrations. And I actually have 2 pages to my home screen. Now, there are 2 ways to get to the second page of my home screen, but I'm going to show you the 3-finger swipes that directly relate to this. So, to get to my second page, I'm going to do a 3-finger swipe to the left. And basically what that's going to do is it's going to push my home screen off to the left. It's going to slide off of the left edge of the iPad while the second page slides in from the right. And you're going to hear a noise. Now listen to this. I'm going to go ahead and do it.
Page 2 of 2. Audio bus. Page 1 of 2. Native applications folder. 8 apps. 21 new items.
And naturally, to get back, you do a 3-finger swipe to the right. That's going to push your second screen off the right edge of the iPad while your first screen slides in from the left.
Page 2 of 2. White tiles 4. 1 new item.
So here I am on page 2 of 2.
Page 1 of 2. Native applications folder. 8.
Page 1 of 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you the 3-finger swipe up and 3-finger swipe down. So I'm going to go into my settings menu.
Settings. Settings.
Double tap to open it.
Settings. Practice voiceover gestures. Command. Touch. Select item under your finger. Voiceover practice 11. Voiceover practice. Voiceover practice. Heading. Touch. Select item. Voiceover 11:59. Practice voiceover gesture. Flick left. Move to practice voice. Touch. Select item. Voiceover practice. Heading. Touch. Select item.
I have no clue how to get out of voiceover practice. That's annoying. So I'm just going to cheat and do
Home.
this.
Stopping help. App settings. Running. Closing.
Get rid of
set.
that.
Home. Running. Setting. Reminder. Reminder. Call up. Close button. Close button. Native applications folder. 8 apps. 22 new items. Settings.
And go into settings.
Selected. General button.
Now, I'm going to do a flick up because I'm in a list right now, and it's a long list. So if I don't want to swipe all the way down like this,
Display. Wallpaper. Sounds. Passcode. Privacy button.
and I know what I'm looking for is towards the bottom of the list, I'm going to do a 3-finger swipe up. And what that's going to do is it's going to push the list up. And it's kind of like scrolling down. You swipe up to scroll down, you swipe down to scroll up. And this is with 3 fingers, of course.
Rows 18 to 31 of 62.
So it'll also give you information. What's showing right now is rows 18 to 31 of 62. I think, is that what it said?
Rows 18 to 31 of 62.
Yes, rows 18 to 31 of 62. So if I want to get all the way to the bottom,
Rows 30 to 44 of 62.
I could do that, or I could do a 4-finger gesture. And I'm going to show you
Notification. Messenger. Joshua
a
email.
couple of 4-finger gestures. So the first one I'm going to show you is the 4-finger single tap. And that can be used in 2 different ways, at the bottom of the screen and at the top of the screen. And this can be used in long lists like this one, which is over 60 items long. So if I want to get to the bottom, I do a 4-finger single tap at the bottom of the screen.
Reset button.
And that takes me all the way to reset. But that actually did it in the general menu, which is the one I have selected, which is okay. So if I do it on the top,
Settings. Heading.
it takes me all the way to the top. So 4-finger single tap at the bottom
Reset button.
takes me to reset. 4-finger single tap at the top
Settings. Heading.
takes me to settings. And I'm actually going to move back to 3-finger taps for a moment because there's actually a quadruple 3-finger tap. And the reason I wanted to do that last is because it's not used that often. It can be used for reporting bugs or for, showing people what your voiceover is saying they can't hear directly. So if I make my voiceover say something
Bluetooth on. Status bar item.
and do a 3-finger quadruple tap, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Bluetooth on status bar item. Copy to pasteboard.
Now, VoiceOver will copy the item to VoiceOver so you can paste it as text somewhere else. So those are 4-finger gestures and 3-finger gestures. So we are just moving right along here. The next thing I'm going to show you is what's called the rotor. Now, the rotor can be used to access VoiceOver settings very quickly without having to go to your settings menu, go to General, go to Accessibility, go to VoiceOver, then find the setting you want and change it. Now, there are some settings that you can only change in the settings menu, but the most commonly used ones can be changed in the rotor, and your rotor can also be customized. So, in order to do the rotor gesture, you can do one of two things. You can either A, do the dial turning method, or B, do the swiping method. So I'm going to show the dial turning method first. So the dial turning method is kind of like turning a dial, but with only 2 fingers. So the best way I can describe it is you can actually move, for example, I kind of have my hand so that my fingers are vertical on the screen so that my thumb is towards the bottom edge, and my pinky is towards the top edge. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my index and my middle finger, and I'm going to move my index finger to the left and move my middle finger to the right. So it's like I'm turning a dial, and you'll hear a sound. So I'm going to be quiet as I do it, and you're going to hear a sound, and VoiceOver is going to start saying stuff. If VoiceOver were actually on.
VoiceOver on. Native applications folder is words. Speech rate. Hints.
So you hear it saying stuff. I'm actually doing what's called a rotor to the right. And so I'm turning a dial clockwise.
Headings. Audio ducking. Characters.
Now, I can also turn it the opposite way to move the other direction in the rotor.
Audio ducking.
And what it's doing is
hints. Speech rate words.
It's just moving through some settings in VoiceOver.
Audio ducking. Headings. Speech rate.
So, here I am on speech rate. Now, once I get to a setting, I'll show you how to manipulate it with a 1-finger gesture. And that will be a 1-finger swipe up or a 1-finger swipe down. So, for example, if I want to increase the speech rate, I would do a 1-finger swipe up.
40%, 45%, 50%, 55%.
And if I want to go back down, it's a 1-finger swipe down.
50%, 45%, 40%, 35%.
Alternatively, I can actually use it for character and word navigation. Now, you can use line and paragraph, and you can use this in internet stuff, but I'll show you that later. I'm actually going to show you the other way of performing the rotor, and that's the swipe method. So what you do is you place 1 finger on the screen, doesn't matter where.
Dropbox is editing.
And
Dropbox.
I'm going to do a 1-finger swipe down with my middle finger because I'm using my index finger as an anchor.
Words. Characters. 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 Audio ducking. Speech rate. Speech rate. Words.
So exactly what's going on is I'm using my index finger as an anchor, so my index finger is not moving, but I'm swiping up with my middle finger. Now, that method can be a little finicky, and it moves through the rotor extremely fast, but I know some people who have problems getting the dial turning method down properly, so that's just another alternative for the rotor. Now later in the video I'll actually be using the rotor, but for right now I'm going to go into settings and show you how to customize your rotor. So
settings.
I'm going to double tap on settings to open it.
Twitter button.
I'm going to use a 3-finger swipe down to scroll up my settings menu to find general.
Rows 8 to 21 if rows 1 to 12 if 6 selected. General.
General's already selected, so I'm going to move over to general.
Auto lock never button. Restrictions off. Lock/unlock on. Settings. Heading. Restrictions. Lock/automatic. Date and time. Keyboard. Language and iTunes Wi-Fi. Lag. Keep date. Auto lock. Restrict. Auto lock. Back usage. Rotate. Select. Lock rotation. Use side. Use for. Bullet pinch. Bullet swipe. Bullet swipe. Multi accessibility. Hand off accessibility button.
And I'm going to double tap on accessibility.
Settings.
and double
Heading.
tap on VoiceOver.
VoiceOver on button. Speech settings.
Now I'm going to
Heading.
swipe to my rotor,
Speech. Braille. Rotor. Button.
and here's the rotor.
Setting. Selected. Characters.
Now when you hear something selected, that means it is included in your rotor. So I'm going to just show you all of the things that you can have in your rotor and give you a brief explanation of each. So the first thing we have is characters. That's the first thing in your rotor. And if you use that swipe down or up gesture, it will let you navigate forward and back by character respectively. So I'm going to go ahead and swipe through these.
Reorder characters. Button. Draggable.
And you can actually use a gesture that I will show you later to move that. That's a draggable button. And you can drag it up and down with the gesture I'll show you later in this tutorial to reorder things in the rotor. But for now, if you just double tap on something, it will deselect it and it'll be removed from your rotor.
Selected. Words.
So word navigation is selected. You can, of course, use that swipe up and down to navigate back and forth by word, respectively.
Reorder. Selected. Lines.
Line navigation.
Reorder. Selected. Speech rate.
Speech rate.
Reorder. Speech volume.
Your device's volume. I do not have that selected because I just use my side switches.
Reorder. Punctuation.
Punctuation. I don't have that in my rotor because I tend to accidentally rotor to it and change it and it gets annoying. So you can actually change what punctuation VoiceOver speaks.
Reorder punctuation. What sounds?
Sounds. You can, if you include that in your rotor, turn your VoiceOver sounds on and off.
Reorder sound selected. Hints.
Hints is something that you can use when you want VoiceOver to speak hints about the item you have selected.
Reorder hints. What handwriting?
There's the handwriting mode where you can actually handwrite on the screen when you're in a text field or when you're on the home screen.
Reorder hand containers.
Containers.
Reorder selected. Headings.
Headings. That's for internet browsing. You can actually rotor to headings and swipe down to navigate forward through headings or swipe up to navigate back through them.
Reorder headings. Selected. Links.
You can do the same with links.
Links. Reorder links. Form controls.
Form controls.
Reorder tables.
Tables.
Reorder lists.
Lists.
Reorder lists. Landmarks.
Landmarks.
Reorder visited links.
Visited links.
Reorder non-visited links.
Non-visited links, which would kind of be the same as links, but okay.
Reorder selected. Buttons.
Buttons.
Reorder selected. Text fields.
Text fields.
Reorder search fields.
Search fields. So as you can see, internet browsing can be really efficient.
Reorder images.
Images.
Reorder static text.
Static text.
Reorder in-page links.
In-page links.
Reorder zoom.
Zoom.
Reorder same item.
Same item.
Reorder vertical navigation.
Vertical navigation.
Reorder selected. Audio ducking.
Audio ducking. Now let me explain audio ducking real quick. So I don't know if you heard earlier, but now I have music playing. Listen to what happens when I touch something with VoiceOver.
Static text.
Did you hear that the music dimmed while I was listening to VoiceOver, so you could hear it more clearly? Now, audio ducking, when you rotor to that, you can actually turn it off so that VoiceOver does not dim anything in the background.
In-page links. Zoom. Same item. Vertical. Reorder. Selected. Audio. Braille screen input.
Braille screen input. That is not in my rotor, but I'm going to put it in my rotor later when I show Braille screen input.
Reorder Braille screen.
Later in this tutorial. So that is a brief example of the rotor. So before I move on to other iOS functionality with VoiceOver, I'm going to show you how to customize your VoiceOver settings. So I'm here on my home screen. I'm going to go ahead and go into settings.
Settings.
General.
Selected. General. Selected. Multitasking gesture.
Accessibility.
On. Use sides. Lock rotate. Selected. Accessibility. Button.
VoiceOver.
Zoom. Off. Zoom. VoiceOver. On.
Now,
Settings. Heading.
I'm going to go through everything in this menu, well, most things in this menu, and tell you what they do and how to change them. So,
Double tap to activate this VoiceOver. On.
here you have the VoiceOver toggle.
VoiceOver speaks items on the screen. VoiceOver. On.
And I'm going to go ahead and turn it off
VoiceOver off.
because I want to show you something. Now, you can turn VoiceOver on accessibly as long as your device has Siri on it. I'll get more into Siri towards the end of this video, but here's what I can do. I'm going to activate Siri. Hey Siri, turn voiceover on.
Okay, I turned on voiceover.
Hey Siri, thank you.
My pleasure.
Alright, so
Speaking rate. Heading.
as you can hear, voiceover is now on. It's as simple as that. Now, the devices that have Siri, you have the iPhone 4S and later. That's the iPhone 4S, the iPhone 5, the iPhone 5C, the iPhone 5S, the iPhone 6, and the iPhone 6 Plus. The iPad 3rd generation and later. So that's the iPad 3rd generation, 4th generation, and the iPad Air. And you also have both iPad minis, I believe, the iPad 1st generation and the iPad 2nd mini 2nd generation with Retina display, as well as the iPod 5th generation. Now, I'm assuming the Apple Watch will have Siri. Yes, the Apple Watch, actually, it was demoed that it does have Siri. And the Apple TV will probably soon have Siri when they come out with the new one. I would love for them to have Siri on the Mac, but that's wishful thinking. So, back to this menu.
Double tap to activate the selected item. Tap once to select an item.
So here you have some basic voiceover tips.
Double tap to activate the selected item. Swipe 3 fingers to scroll. Voiceover practice button.
And there you have a voiceover practice field. As you saw earlier in the video, you can go in there and just perform voiceover gestures to see what they do. Now, it's a bit hard to get out of there on the iPad. I haven't figured that out yet, but I'll figure it out eventually.
Speaking rate. Heading. Speaking rate 35% adjustable.
Here we are in the speaking rate, and that is an adjustable item. Now, with adjustable items, I'm going to take you back to one of the one-finger gestures I showed you not too long ago. That is the one-finger swipe up and the one-finger swipe down. Now, we have speaking rate included in the rotor, but we can also do it here.
45%. 35%.
And it goes in increments of 10 versus speaking rate changing in the rotor, which only goes in increments of 5.
Speak hints off.
So here is another place where you can turn your speak hints on or off. And you can just double tap on that to toggle it on or off. Right now it's off, of course, as you heard voiceover say.
Use pitch change on.
Use pitch change can be used when you enter capital letters, when you delete things, stuff like that.
Use sound effects on.
Of course, I mentioned the voiceover sound effects earlier. You can include that in your rotor. You cannot, but you can also turn it on and off here. So all the swiping stuff you hear, the rotor sounds, all of that, those are included in the voiceover sounds.
Speech button.
Now, the speech, you can actually go in to change your voice. I have it set to Alex, and right now, the only devices that can use Alex are the iPhone 5S, the iPhone 6, the iPhone 6 Plus, and the iPad Air, as well as the iPad 2nd generation, I believe.
Braille button.
Braille, you can go in there and change your Braille settings. There's actually some Braille bugs in iOS 8, so I just leave all my Braille settings as default for now until they fix it with an update coming soon.
Rotor button.
Your rotor, of course, that is where you go to customize your rotor.
Typing style. Direct typing button.
Typing style, I'll actually get into typing with voiceover later in the tutorial.
Phonetic feedback. Character and phonetics button.
Phonetic feedback, so if you hear a letter and you want to know, for example, the difference between M and N, or the difference between B and P, or D and B, or something like that, it will actually give the phonetic pronunciation of that letter in a word if you wait for a second after touching the letter.
Typing feedback button.
You can change what feedback you get from VoiceOver while typing. I actually have it set so that it only gives me a word, so it will only speak when I press the space bar.
Always speak notifications off.
I have always speak notifications off, and what that does is if you get a notification on your lock screen. VoiceOver will automatically read it. Now, depending on what notification you get, that could lead to some interesting situations. So, for privacy's sake, I just leave that off because I don't want to be in the middle of a meeting or something and have it, read a text from my girlfriend or an angry text from someone, or maybe an email that I get with some personal information in it, whatever.
Navigate images. Descriptions. Button.
So you can set it so that it ignores images without descriptions. You can set it so that it ignores images altogether, or you can set VoiceOver so that it navigates all the images on a web page.
Large cursor. On.
The large cursor. So the VoiceOver cursor is actually shaded, so you can, if VoiceOver's focused on something, you can see a black border around it, and I have the large cursor set for demonstration purposes. And that's everything in the VoiceOver settings menu. So I encourage you to go through that, tweak your settings, and get VoiceOver running exactly how you like. So one last thing I'm going to show is what's called the accessibility shortcut. And this is really useful for, if you're sharing a device with someone who does not use VoiceOver, or if you just want to turn VoiceOver off for a little bit and you don't want to have to use Siri, and you don't want to have to navigate all the way to your settings to do it. Now, this has to be set up initially. This is not enabled by default unless you are setting up your device initially. Now, I'll explain that a little bit later, but first I'm going to show you how to enable it. So, of course, go to your settings.
Settings.
General.
Settings. Selected. General. Button. Select use lock. Select rotation lock. Usage. Background. Auto. Backward. Auto. Lock.
Where's accessibility?
Multitasking jet except hand off accessibility button.
Accessibility.
Heading increase contrast.
And swipe down to accessibility shortcut.
Reduce motion off. Increase contrast button. Home click speed default button. Accessibility shortcut VoiceOver button.
Here we are in the accessibility shortcut. So I just used the 4-finger single tap at the bottom of my screen to get to it, since it's at the very bottom of the menu, and did a double tap anywhere on my screen, and it took me into it. Now the VoiceOver accessibility shortcut menu.
Accessibility shortcut heading. Triple click the home button for heading.
So there you heard VoiceOver say triple click the home button for, and then below it has a menu.
Selected VoiceOver.
So as you can hear, I have VoiceOver selected. So if I triple click my home button,
VoiceOver.
1, 2, 3.
VoiceOver off.
VoiceOver goes away. 1, 2, 3.
Landscape.
VoiceOver comes back.
Triple click the home. Selected VoiceOver.
So say if I turn something else on.
Invert colors.
So if I select invert colors.
Selected invert colors.
And I do a 3-finger, and I do a 3-finger, and I do a 3-tap, and I do a triple tap on the home button.
Alert accessibility options.
It actually brings up a menu.
Selected VoiceOver.
So I can choose VoiceOver.
Invert colors button.
And I can turn inverted colors on.
Selected settings. Invert colors.
So as you can see, inverted colors are now on. So I'm going to go ahead and turn those off.
App switcher. Settings. Running.
Sorry about that.
Alert. Accessibility. Selected. Invert colors. Settings.
There we go.
Grayscale. Selected. Invert colors.
And I'm going to remove invert colors by just double tapping it.
Grayscale.
So you have the grayscale, zoom, switch control,
assistive touch,
and assistive touch. So that's your accessibility shortcut. So you can turn all of those. You can turn all of those on and off using the home button by just tapping it 3 times quickly, like this. 1, 2, 3.
VoiceOver off.
1, 2, 3.
VoiceOver on. Native application.
So let's go ahead and move on. Here I am in Pages, and the reason I'm in Pages is because I'm going to show typing with VoiceOver. Now there are many ways you can do this. 4 actually. No, 5. So I'm going to show you standard typing first. And I'm actually not set to standard typing, but I'm going to show you how to change your typing mode. Now, you want to make sure that voiceover is focused. You want to make sure that voiceover is focused on the text field.
Text field is editing.
And you want to rotor to typing mode. And the fastest way to do this is to rotor counterclockwise or turn the rotoring dial to the left.
Characters. Typing mode.
And you heard it say typing mode, so you can either swipe up or down to move through the list of typing modes.
Standard typing.
And here I am in standard typing. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. On the keyboard right now, at the bottom half, or bottom third, depending on which application you're using, and if you're in portrait or landscape, I'm in portrait. But I do most of my typing in landscape. I'm in portrait because I'm actually filming with one hand and typing with the other, so the letters tend to be a bit bigger. So, with standard typing, you find a letter on the keyboard, and you can either double tap it, or you can hold your finger on that letter and tap with another finger. So, for example, if I want to type the word "the," I would find the letter T.
Capital T.
And I can either double tap here.
Capital T. Tag.
Now I'm going to find the letter H.
J. H.
And I'm touching these with my index finger. But instead of double tapping, I'm going to tap with my middle finger.
H.
Find
Hotel.
E.
E. E. Space. Space.
There you go. So that's standard typing.
K. K. E. E. U. Y. Y. N. B. B. O. O. A. A. Keyboard T. R. R. Keyboard F. Foxtrot D. D. Space. Space.
So there you go. And I'm going to go ahead and delete that. I typed the keyboard.
The keyboard.
I'm going to find the delete key.
Delete.
And I'm going to keep my finger on it. And I'm going to tap with my middle finger.
Space. D. R. A. O. B. Y. E. K. Space. E. H. Capital T.
It's a little hard to notice, but there is an example of pitch change when I am deleting things. So, that is an example of standard typing. Now, I'm going to move to touch typing.
Text field is editing.
So as I did before, I'm going to rotor to typing mode
Typing mode.
and swipe down.
Touch typing.
And here we have touch typing. Now the difference between standard typing and touch typing is you just touch a letter and you don't have to double tap or tap with another finger while holding down on that letter. You just touch the letter and it's there. So
Capital R. Capital T. Capital T. H. H. This. E. E. X. Space. L. K. K. S. E. E. Y. Y. B. B. O. O. Keyboard A. A. Keyboard R. R. Key D. D. Space.
So, let me tell you what I first did. I touched the letter and I let go. That's it. So, once you get more familiar with the keyboard, you can type a lot faster by just touching the letters. And if you're a little bit inaccurate and you have autocorrect enabled, then it'll know what you mean. Now, autocorrect is beyond the scope of this video, but I highly suggest you enable it. Now, it can lead to some awkward situations sometimes, so always check your text using autocorrect. But anyway, I can go ahead and
Delete.
find the delete key and just keep touching it.
Space. D. R. A. O. B. Y. E. K. Space. E. H. Cap. Delete.
And I was just repeatedly tapping on it. Now, I'm going to show you a new form of typing in iOS, and it is called Direct Touch Typing. Now, you really want to make sure you have autocorrect on with this, unless you're some sort of boss and you know the layout of the QWERTY keyboard and you can hit all your buttons exact. So I'm going to go ahead and rotor to typing mode.
Edit. Typing mode.
And swipe down.
Direct touch typing.
Here we are in Direct Touch Typing. Now, Direct Touch Typing is very similar to touch typing, but instead of waiting a split second to hear what VoiceOver says, you just type. So you just keep tapping and tapping and tapping, whatever. And the best way to describe direct touch typing is with standard typing and touch typing, VoiceOver is kind of the layer between you and your keyboard. So you press an area on your screen which happens to be over the letter T. VoiceOver sends that touch to the keyboard. The keyboard tells VoiceOver, hey, that's the letter T. VoiceOver recognizes that and tells you, hey, you're pressing on the letter T. Well, so you kind of have that layer of VoiceOver in the middle. I don't necessarily know if that's how it works in the code, but that's a good way to describe it when you're trying to describe direct touch typing. Now, direct touch typing removes VoiceOver from the middle, so you have direct access to the keyboard, hence direct touch typing. And VoiceOver is just kind of sitting behind the keyboard. So as you type letters, VoiceOver is like, hey, this is what you typed. The keyboard told me you type this. So for example,
Cap H, E, space, touch typing, R, E, R, space, K, E, E, Y, B, I, A, keep R, sit keyboard, space,
so I wasn't very accurate with that, but
the keyboard,
because of autocorrect helping me, I still typed the keyboard. Now, if I were typing with my thumbs, that would have been a lot faster. I want to try and get a shot of me using direct touch typing, but I probably won't be able to. But that's just an example of direct touch typing. Now, if you're not used to typing with VoiceOver on an iOS device, I don't recommend you use this yet. I recommend you start with touch typing or standard typing, and once you get more comfortable with typing, then you can move to touch typing. Now, it does take a lot of practice. I've actually been practicing with touch typing since June, so I'm pretty fast at it. But anyway, let me go ahead and delete this.
delete, space, D, delete R, O, E, E, H, capital, delete,
And I'm going to show you two more forms of typing. Now, the first has to do with one of the new features of iOS 8, and that is third-party keyboards. Now, what a third-party keyboard is, it's a keyboard designed by another company that you can use without having to switch to a new app, to another app. You can use it right here. So, I'm going to go ahead and switch to a keyboard called Flexi.
dictate, next keyboard, emoji, next keyboard, emoji,
I'm going to double tap on that. There's my emoticon keyboard.
next keyboard, flexi,
Double tap on that.
selected, shift off white, button,
And here you have Flexi. So this will not be a complete review of Flexi. I've already posted a complete review of Flexi. This is just demonstrating another typing solution. So I have a keyboard that's pretty good with contrast. It's kind of darkish blue with white keys. But one thing about Flexi right now, and it's not necessarily their fault, there's an issue with direct touch and third-party keyboards with Apple that they're working on getting fixed. So what you have to do with Flexi is you actually have to go into the application, go to your settings, and make sure voice feedback is on, because what you have to do in order to make Flexi work is to turn VoiceOver off.
voiceover off,
Now, my VoiceOver is off, and what Flexi does is it's kind of like a predictive typing app. So it looks at where you're typing on the screen, and it tries to guess what you type. So you don't have to be too terribly active. It's good to be a little accurate so it doesn't have to guess as much, but you don't have to be too terribly active. So I'm going to go ahead and type a sentence.
This. F. F. Deleted F. I. This. A. S. Deleted S. Example. F. Deleted F.
I don't want my iPad to fall off the desk.
Of. Typing. Deleted period. Deleted typing. Typing. Deleted period. Deleted typing. Period. Upon. Deleted period. Typing. Period. Deleted period. With. Period. Deleted period. Forks. Deleted forks. Rosie. Deleted with. Deleted this. This. I. Is. N. A. Deleted up. Example. Of. Typing. With. Flexi. Period.
All right, so I just typed, this is an example of typing with Flexi. Now, if you want to learn how I just did that, I suggest going to my YouTube channel and looking for a video called the Updated Flexi Review. And that will give you a comprehensive guide on how to use this keyboard. Now, it is a bit of a learning curve, but I'm going to go ahead and turn VoiceOver back on.
VoiceOver on. Pages. Blank landscape.
And show you how to switch back from Flexi. Now, what I did was, there's a glow button at the bottom. Now, VoiceOver seems to be acting up a little bit right now, as is the case with some people in iOS 8. But there's a glow button on the bottom to the left of the space bar. And you just double tap and hold on it. So you want to double tap, and on the second tap, hold it down until you hear that little doo-doo-ding sound, and it will actually switch back to your default
Capital U.
iOS keyboard,
This capital I.
as you
Capital
can
I.
see here.
Indie. Capital space.
And
This is an example of typing with Flexi.
there's my text. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that.
Delete. This is an example. Insertion point at end. Insert. Canvas. This is an example of typing with Flexi. This is an example of typing with Flexi. Insertion. Text. Delete. This is an example. Insertion point. Delete. Period. An example. This is.
That double tap and hold gesture I just told you about, I just used it to delete a whole bunch of text quickly. Now, I'm actually going to show you one more form of typing, which is brand new to iOS and is very popular among the blind community. Now, I'm going to do my best to try and use this with one hand, but it's going to be surprising to some who don't know about it. So here we go. Alright guys, I actually can't hold my phone while I'm doing this, but I at least wanted to get it so that you could at least see my hands working. And I think that's how it is, but I won't know until post-editing. So I'm here on my home screen, and I'm actually going to show you Braille input. Now, the reason I'm not in Pages is because I want to show you a really awesome way of finding apps. See, I have a lot of apps on this iPad. And so if I want to find some, I can switch.
I
Let me.
BUTUOY. 57 apps.
So I cleared it. It has 57 apps. So watch this. I'm going to tap a Y,
Y. 1 app.
and I'm going to swipe down.
YouTube.
And there's YouTube. Now to open it, you do a 2-finger swipe to the right.
Opening YouTube. YouTube. Your account. Christopher O'Mealy. Heading.
Here we are in YouTube. So that's just a brief demonstration of Braille screen input and how it can be used. Here I am in an internet browser. And the built-in internet browser of iOS is Safari, and Safari is completely accessible. And the reason I'm in the internet is not to show you how to browse the internet.
Hints. Splines. Words.
I can also read by word
GarageBand. Help. 3.
or
Language. Learn all new line. Selected.
by character, but you get the idea. Okay, take two. So, this last bit is going to be covering Siri and all of her capabilities. Now, I was planning on showing you email and messaging and all that stuff, but number one, this video is already really long, and number two, with everything that I've shown you, if you go and explore, you can pretty much figure all that stuff out. I mean, if you need help setting it up, I will upload videos later on, hopefully, of how to set up email accounts and iMessage and continuity and all that stuff. But for now, I'm going to show you how to do all of this with Siri. Siri is a virtual assistant, and she's of course voice driven, and she can do stuff for you like set reminders, set calendars, send emails, messages, make calls, open applications. She can identify songs for you, which I'm actually not going to demo here, but also, in iOS 8, if your device is plugged in, you have access to a function called Hey Siri. And I actually had to say that quietly because my iPad just happens to be plugged in there. So if I go, Hey Siri, good morning.
Good morning to you too.
So, there you go. I'm actually going to, Hey Siri, compose an email to Chelsea Cook.
What's the sub?
Listen button.
Testing once again.
What would you like your email to say?
I am testing this once again because I accidentally shot this particular portion of the video in slow motion, and I did not find out until someone commented on my video, period. I'm going to have to take this down and upload the new copy once I am done with editing, period.
Send button.
And I'm gonna go ahead and hit send. And off goes the email. So you can do pretty much everything like that. Hey Siri, remind me at 1 o'clock to do dishes.
Here,
There we go.
Confirm button.
And
I'll remind you.
you can have Siri remind you. I mean, you can have Siri. You can confirm all your stuff with voice, but I just find it faster to use VoiceOver and tap the send button or tap the confirm button or whatever that may be. But you can actually respond with voice should you choose to. Now, this is the last part of the video. I hope you guys enjoy. Sorry for those who have already seen it, where that last part was in like super slow-mo. I didn't realize that I was shooting in slow-mo. And I usually do all of my editing while I'm shooting these parts, just in case I make a mistake. I can go and fix the mistake. And I just didn't make any noticeable ones in the part that I shot in slow-mo. So, I hope you guys like it. Let me know if I missed things that you want covered. Let me know if there's anything I can change. If you have any questions, you can inbox me here, comment on any of my videos. You can email me at accesstechmedia@gmail.com. That is ACCESSTECHM as in mom, EDIA @gmail.com. And if you want to keep track of the videos I upload without having to check YouTube and all that stuff, you can subscribe to me on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter. My Twitter name is, of course, Access Tech Media, and a link to the videos that I upload are sent to Twitter as soon as they're done processing and all that stuff. Uploading on YouTube takes forever. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy. Bye.